Man, I'm back with another Front Row Talk podcast, Front Row Talk episode. It's the podcast with expensive opinions. Episode 37 or 38, correct me if I'm wrong. But before I even get into the episode, make sure you subscribe. Please subscribe, make sure you comment. Like this video, share this video. Make sure I click the description down below. It'll have all the links to the Instagram, Twitter, even though I don't use Twitter, and the TikTok page of this podcast. That's the most important one. So y'all could go ahead and see, the clips that I upload on TikTok. And those people who, come from TikTok, make sure y'all watch, the full episode, and make sure y'all subscribe as well too. The podcast with expensive opinions, like I said. And yeah, I feel like this episode is gonna be a bit different just because different from the ones that I've done recently, and I feel like it's gonna be more of a quote unquote fun topic, just because I feel like it's something everybody could relate to, something that we all do, and that's watch movies. So this episode is basically like it's opinion based, definitely opinion based, but my top five must watch movies. I feel like these movies is movies that everybody should watch just because they all portray a different message, and they're definitely entertaining. I feel like it's movies that will have you like stuck to your screen, and I feel like they're all good movies, of course, because they wouldn't be up in this list if I wouldn't think that they were good movies. But yeah, no, these movies I'm not ranking them 1 through 5. I didn't really list them out that way, so I'm not ranking them like from worst to best or from best to worst. But I just wrote down the top 5 movies that I feel like everybody should watch, and yeah. So to go for the first movie, I feel like The Matrix is definitely a good movie, just because it gives a point of view on quote unquote life and decision making. I feel like it's definitely a movie that you should watch if you're like open minded, or if you like like to question things in a certain point, like certain aspect of like just life, and like how there's like a higher power in a sense, controlling people throughout life. I guess you could say it's definitely a movie that talk has a lot of subliminal messages, just because you know I feel like people watch it over and over again and they still learn new things from the movie. Like it's things that you see the second time, but you didn't see the first time of watching it, and that's definitely something with every movie. But this movie specifically is definitely subliminal. Like you definitely see, like with the whole red pill, blue pill thing, and just how you could just tap into a whole. Everybody has their own different beliefs in a sense, but a lot of people do feel like The Matrix is a movie that speaks on like our everyday life, and this is a movie that came out years ago. So I feel like it's still spoken about a lot for a reason. And yeah, I feel like it's a movie that everybody should go ahead and watch. I've watched it myself. I think that it's a movie that is not understood by everybody, or everybody doesn't see it at the same level as others. I guess you could say the woke people see it better, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Y'all definitely should give me y'all opinion on the movie if y'all watched it. If y'all have never watched it, you should definitely go watch it. But I will say it is a long movie and you could get distracted easily. So if you're not into long movies, then just don't even mind going ahead to watch the movie. Alright, on to the second movie. This movie is called Taken. It's probably one of my favorite movies ever. I didn't seen it more than 10 times, throughout my life. And it's a movie about this father who has a daughter, and she goes ahead, and I'm pretty sure she takes a trip with her friend, and they get kidnapped, and she while she's getting kidnapped, she's on the phone with her dad, and she's telling them like, oh, they got my best friend, they got her, and then they end up getting her. So then her father just goes out his way to go and get to rescue his daughter. And in this movie, of course, is Liam Neeson, one of my favorite actors ever. He actually like goes to where she's at, and he ends up just putting the pieces together, and he ends up getting his daughter, but he does it by any means. And I feel like it's a movie where it shows that any father or any parent would definitely go out their way to rescue their son or their daughter, just because that's the part of them. You know what I'm trying to say? But it's definitely a movie that's filled with action. I mean, the way he just like maneuvers certain situations and the way he thinks, his decision making, of course, it just makes you like be like, damn, like I would definitely do something along like just like this, but it shows you. I mean, I guess you could say, I hope nobody's ever in that situation, but it definitely shows you that any human being is willing to do anything, to rescue a family member or anybody that means something to them. So Taken is definitely up there, and it's Taken 2 and 3 if I'm not mistaken. But in my opinion, the first one is the best one, and yeah, you should definitely go ahead and watch that movie as well. Alright, moving on to the third movie. I'll say it's got Goodfellas, and once again, I'm not ranking them 1 through 5 or nothing, but this is just the order I wrote them. And Goodfellas is definitely a great movie. I'm a big fan of movies that contain like mob like activities or things, just because especially this movie, it definitely shows a way of living, and what I mean by that is like family, respect, and sometimes doing something by any means to get to where you want to get to. Definitely, it's definitely violence in this movie. It's packed with a lot of violence, and but I like it though because it's this young kid growing up, and he grows up like in a mob, and he's just trying to rank himself higher and higher as time passes. I do think this is a movie everybody should watch. It's probably not for everybody, but those who like movies like that, it's definitely is what I feel like is one of the best mob movies out there. And there's a lot out there. And yeah, I mean, it's not a movie I could really give detail about, just because I'd rather you just go watch it yourself. But it's definitely a good movie. It's a lot of luxury, a lot of money, of course, power, and just a lot of decision making as well. I feel like the movies that I've said so far, contain a lot of decision making, contain a lot of people going out their way to do whatever it is that they. And at the end of the day, I mean, these is all entertaining movies. I wouldn't really put these movies up here because I mean, I wouldn't really put these movies up here if they weren't movies that I think that are worth watching and stuff. But the Goodfellas is definitely up there. Goodfellas is a great movie. I watched it definitely more than 2 or 3 times. And if I'm not mistaken, it is a long movie as well, but you would not regret watching it. And it has a lot of if I'm not mistaken, it has some like comical points throughout the movies and stuff like that. So it's filled with a lot. It's filled with a lot. Now the fourth movie, it'll have to be John Wick, and I'm talking about the first one too, because there's 3 parts of John Wick, but I feel like the first one hits different every time I watch it. And I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with John Wick and what he did in the movie. So I feel like that movie speaks for itself. I mean, he had a dog. These guys come into his house, they kill his dog. They violate, and then he just goes out for revenge. And I feel like this movie specifically, the message I got from this movie is never underestimate anybody, just because you never know what somebody's capable of. And he ended up getting revenge and getting the guys that did what they did to him. And believe it or not, he wasn't really looking for no trouble or nothing. But he decided to get his revenge, and he did what he did. And I feel like the movie's liked by a lot of people just because of how action packed it is. And sometimes these movies could be a bit unrealistic, but I feel like that's what has stuck to your chair just looking at the TV, whether it's an hour or 2 or 3. But yeah, John Wick is definitely a movie you should go ahead and watch, and I put it up for a reason. And I feel like everybody watched it by now. If you haven't watched it, you should definitely do it right now, right now. Well, after you finish the video, but you know what I mean. And last but not least, the Titanic. I feel like the Titanic is a beautiful movie. I feel like the Titanic is definitely I feel like everybody should go ahead and watch it. If you haven't watched it, it's probably because you were a little kid, or you just, I don't know, you lost if you never watched the Titanic though. It's definitely a long movie. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 3-hour movie, but it's full with a lot of things. I mean, it's a romantic movie, it's a love movie, but with a sad ending, of course. But if you ask me, it's one of the best movies that's ever came out, ever. It's a film that has been around for a long time, and it's based off a true story at that. And I mean, I guess you could say what I learned from the movie. I guess you could say, there is such thing as love at first sight, and you know, just what you do, for the person that you got love for, the person that you care about, and yeah, life hits you in many different ways. They wasn't expecting that to happen. Towards the ending of the movie with the sinking, the ship sinking, and it did, and a lot of people lost their lives, a lot of people survived, but they went towards the end that just fighting to like rescue each other and to have each other like by their side, holding hands and stuff like that. So it's definitely a movie that you should definitely go ahead and watch too. It's a movie everybody knows. It's a classic. I feel like probably the biggest classic out of the ones I named in this list. And yeah, I mean, I feel like those is the top 5 movies that you should definitely go ahead and watch. I didn't really go into detail with any of them because, I mean, I feel like most of y'all done seen these movies already, and if you haven't, like I said, go watch all of them, and you definitely see why I came on here and talk about them. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a different episode. I feel like I wanted to make it, an episode where like everybody relates to it a lot. And yeah, that's all I can really say about each and every movie. But what I will say is they all have a message to take, and I don't really want to say what them because everybody takes different things from movies. But to each his own. But yeah, make sure y'all like, y'all comment, y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all subscribe. Y'all check the link down in the description, for the TikTok, the IG, and all of that. And yeah, um, subscribe for sure, for sure. Like, click the subscribe button right now, type stuff. And yeah, I'm back. I'll be back. I meant to say I'll be back, next Friday, God willing, with a different topic. And your boy ssalcita is out.